Good evening, everyone. We're just waiting for people to join the meeting. We'll be starting very soon. Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for people to join. We'll be starting shortly. Nous allons bientôt commencer. There's quite a few people that are registered for this evening. I'm told 350. So we're just waiting now for most people to join in. Thank you for your patience. Please note, everyone, that this meeting is being recorded. We're allowing for more people to join before we get started. So thank you for your patience. We'll give it one more minute. Hello, everybody. Just to let you know that this session is being recorded. We are going to start very shortly. We're just letting people join. Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the Baseline Greenbank Transit Priority Intersection Improvements webinar. Bienvenue à tout le monde. My name is Suzanne Valiquet. I will be your moderator this evening. J'ai le plaisir d'animer la rencontre de ce soir. Tonight's meeting, we will be using the Q&A question and answer box to provide you answers. You may also wish to leave a comment. And I've noticed some of you have already started using the Q&A. With so many of you attending tonight, 350 people actually have registered. We may not be able to answer every single one of your questions, but we'll do our best to answer the more pressing ones. With this many people, please limit your questions to 1 or 2 at the most, so that we allow as many people as possible to ask a question. You can send an email at any time to our team. As I've mentioned earlier, this meeting is being recorded. And we are also recording all of your questions, and we'll be posting a summary of them with answers on the project website in the coming weeks. In addition, tonight's presentation will be posted on the project webpage shortly, in both English ainsi qu'en français for your benefit. The links for the webpage will be posted in the chat box shortly, so you can save them to your computer or device. Si vous désirez communiquer en français, Luc Marino de notre équipe se fera un plaisir de vous répondre en français, alors n'hésitez pas. Should you find it difficult to hear or understand the speaker, you can turn on closed captions at the bottom of your screen by using the options under the 3 dots. Actually, there's a show captions. You don't have to go to the 3 dots. I see them at the bottom of the screen here. All right, so let's get started. We recognize that the City of Ottawa is located on traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We extend our respect to all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people for their valuable past and present contributions to this land. We also recognize and respect the cultural diversity that First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people bring to the City of Ottawa. This evening, your panel is led by Chris Oliver, Senior Project Manager. Chris's presentation will cover the construction timeline, the scope, the staging, and importantly, the traffic calming measures which staff are recommending and implementing based on comments received by you, the residents, and the area's community associations. I will now ask Councillor Lane Johnson to say a few words. Conseillère Johnson, over to you, please.
Merci beaucoup, Suzanne, and bonsoir tout le monde. My name is Lane Johnson. I'm the Councillor for College Ward. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. As Suzanne mentioned, we had over 300 registrations for this evening's session, and we struggled with the timeline of this, given that, August can be really challenging for many. We had chatted about having it in September, but of course, back to school at the top of the month, people are very distracted. And so we did struggle to find an opportune time for this meeting, but certainly it was a commitment of mine to offer a traffic mitigation meeting before construction started. So we wanted to keep that promise. Now, I need to acknowledge that when this was first initiated, we had talked about having it in the spring, but we had certain outside factors which we knew at the time. That was, the utilities on site, as well as some of the land legal issues that needed to work themselves out throughout the summer. And so we are a little squashy on this end. And, I think that's the nature of construction, but we did make a decision within the team that we wanted to try and keep the original timeline for the overall project intact, which means to have it conclude within 2 construction seasons. So that's the reason why you're seeing a little tightness on this end. So I acknowledge that that was something that was noted when we sent the messages out. I wanted to offer some context there. Similarly, we've had, I think this is the 4th meeting that my office has hosted on this project since October of last year. So we've been able to have, the first open house. We had an LRT meeting. We had a baseline BRT meeting, and now we're having the 4th one here on the traffic mitigation. And in between then, our office has been open to receive comments on the project, as well as Chris Ogilvie. I'll just correct the name there. Chris Ogilvie is the name of the project manager. And we are continuously accepting comments and feedback on the project. For today's session, I really would like to stay focused on the traffic plan. I know that there is still perhaps some questions around the overall nature of the warrants of the project, and I'll ask for you to direct those comments again to myself and to Chris Ogilvie, the project manager, through email, as you have been. We won't be talking too much about the necessity for this project at this meeting, because we've already covered quite a bit of that in terms of the impact it will have for transit priority, and the fact that when we do road reconstruction, it's actually on behalf of many generations to come, not just the generation that is currently impacted. So I look forward to the conversation today. I'll ask for everyone to be constructive in their comments. As Suzanne said, many of the traffic mitigation within communities were identified both through community associations and public feedback. But there's always room for further tweaking. I mean, it is a project that's going to go over a couple of construction seasons. There's always going to be the opportunity for some flex and some modifications as we find things are working. And data will be collected on traffic between now and throughout the project to inform those types of changes. So rest assured, this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So don't hesitate to email collegeward@ottawa.ca as you continue to have questions and comments. We'll continue to be here for you and to dialogue with you. And thank you very much for the opportunity to welcome you today. Without a doubt, it will be disruptive. I don't think we have to pretend that it isn't, but I know that this team within the City of Ottawa has been working diligently to ensure that quality of life and traffic impacts can be as minimal as possible for such a big project. And they complete over 80 projects a year on time and on budget. You just don't notice them as much as the LRT. So that's the thing. But please, do enter into this conversation with, an open heart and generous spirit, as I will. And I'll look forward to the conversation. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you, Councillor. Next up is Chris Ogilvie. Remember to send us your questions. You may do so during the presentation using the Q&A box. We will begin to answer them following the presentation. Again, to ensure we reach as many of you as possible in the time we have allocated this evening, please keep them, if you can, one per person. We're already up to 204 people, so that could potentially be a lot of questions. Okay, over to you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Susan, and thank you, Councillor Johnson, for your introduction. Good evening and welcome. I'm pleased to be here tonight presenting the Baseline Greenbank Transit Priority Intersection Improvements Project. The agenda for this presentation will be as follows. I'll be giving an overview of the project, its scope, its location. We'll be reviewing the project's timelines. I will be providing information on the project's staging and some anticipated impacts for the project. The project limits for this project, shown in blue on the screen, is the Baseline Transit Priority Project. It's located at the intersection of Baseline and Greenbank and includes their approaches. In addition, shown in orange on the screen, easterly along Baseline before Woodruff, the project also involves some adjusting and new pavement markings that includes repurposing a travel lane into a transit priority lane. This work is line painting and new street signs. The project scope, Baseline Transit Priority Intersection Improvements. So on this slide, you'll see an image of what this project will look like when completed. This includes upgrading the intersection to accommodate all users, including vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians. In addition to these features, the intersection will include a transit priority lane traveling east and west through the intersection, as shown with the diamond on the drawings. The intersection will be constructed with dedicated left and right turn lanes, new signals, new street lighting. Bus stops will be upgraded with power, new shelters that will meet current accessibility standards. The intersection will also be upgraded with dedicated cycle tracks, and it'll include wider sidewalks. This new intersection will provide a safer, more accessible intersection while including transit priority features. This intersection has been designed and has had regard for the ultimate future baseline BRT design. The city hosted, as Councillor Johnson mentioned, a design public information session on October 30th, 2024. We presented the design drawings, we presented the schedule, and some potential impacts that the project would see. During this meeting and following our comments, our team took away some key concerns and comments, and I wanted to highlight that the city listened, we considered, and we're acting. Some of these concerns and our responses I'll share with you on the screen. We heard traffic delays and gridlock. The city completed additional traffic counts, completed additional stakeholder meetings with traffic and signals, and ultimately we revised and supplemented updated traffic conditions for construction. We appreciate some of your comments on this. We also heard increased traffic volumes. We acted. The updated traffic counts were used in conjunction with the past ones to verify the intersection storage and lane configurations. We heard cut-through traffic's going to be an issue. The design team, in consultation with the councillor and her office, with talking to traffic group, will be installing temporary traffic calming mitigation measures along the most obvious cut-through streets. These are temporary items that will be installed and removed when the contract is complete. Volume and speed of cut-through traffic on neighborhoods. Temporary items will be utilized to mitigate these concerns, such as traffic deterrence and speed control measures. Pedestrian access and safety with construction limits. We have included specific contract specifications that provides additional focus on pedestrian safety and access. This includes detailed plans, including safety measures. We heard about increased noise and vibration. The city has a very robust specification and bylaws that are included within the contract. In addition, we have included vibration monitoring within the contract. Additional traffic impacts during ongoing adjacent construction. The city will continue to coordinate with adjacent stakeholders, including the LRT project, as well as the design projects that are underway, including Hunt Club Greenbank project. Our design team, in consultation with LRT, traffic and signal services, has collectively considered the adjacent pressures and impacts. At this time, I'm able to share the LRT is still on schedule and planning to open the Pinecrest on-ramp to the westbound 417 August 29th by midnight. Lastly, access to information related to construction details. Our team will be taking a proactive approach to sharing details and impacts throughout the construction duration. In a later slide, I will go over these items in greater detail. As previously highlighted as an area of concern, and after input from the councillor's office and community associations, we've been installing temporary traffic calming measures to address the most prevalent cut-through routes, and that we're committed to further mitigating as construction proceeds and additional stress points are identified. We are committed to monitoring the increase in traffic volumes, as well as consider other factors such as aggressive driving behavior, road capacity, traffic patterns, and sensitive frontages as we progress with the project. Items that will be implemented under this temporary traffic control program are speed cushions, flex stakes, delineators, parking restrictions, signage, and electronic speed boards. The streets that will have temporary traffic calming measures installed are Draper, Harrison, McWaters, Monterey, Morrison, and Southwood. This drawing here that you see with the red location are the streets that I just highlighted that will include these temporary traffic calming measures in relationship to the Greenbank intersection project as shown in blue. To summarize the locations of these temporary traffic calming by community, Qualicum, Redwood Park will see temporary traffic calming along Morrison and Draper. Leslie Park will see Harrison, Monterey, and in addition, Monterey has already received permanent speed cushions as vertical speed control measures. Queensway Terrace South will see McWaters, and Southwood receive the temporary traffic calming measures. Now on to the schedule for the project. The construction schedule overall sees the project lasting from August of 2025 until the fall of 2026. Specifically from August to November, we will see utilities working. From September to winter shutdown, our contractor will commence roadway construction, followed by a winter shutdown. Spring, the contractor will mobilize and will resume construction activities with a planned completion fall of 2026. Managing construction and minimum lane requirements. The design team, in consultation with traffic services, signal operations, considers and evaluates many aspects in order to determine minimum lane requirements that will be permitted for long duration construction activities. Some of these considerations are traffic volumes, traffic impacts, providing a safe and meaningful work environment, while also considering adjacent and surrounding uses. These minimum lane requirements are updated based on the 2025 traffic counts. Let's review each of the leg of this intersection, starting at the top of the page. Traveling south along Greenbank Road, when you enter the intersection, we'll be maintaining one lane that will be shared with the right turn and straight through movements. As well, there'll be one left turn lane. So therefore, a total of 2 lanes. Staying on Greenbank, bottom of page, heading north, the minimum lane requirements are maintaining 1 lane that'll be shared with right turn and straight through movements. As well, there will be a 1 left turn lane. So again, total of 2 lanes total. On the left of your page, vehicles traveling east along Baseline Road into the intersection will experience 1 through and right turn lane and 1 left turn lane. Again, total of 2 lanes. On the right side, vehicles traveling west down Baseline into the intersection will experience 1 through and right turn lane and 1 left turn lane. So total of 2 lanes. At times, to facilitate staging setups and facilitate short duration activities given safety concerns, there may be a time to facilitate additional minor closures by means of flagging in place. Pedestrians and cyclists will be able to navigate through the intersection during construction. Any sidewalk closure will be signed directing pedestrians to other parts of the intersection. Current bus stops will be shifted slightly within a short distance away to ensure safety is maintained. These minimum lane requirements are not restricting movements, rather reducing lane capacities. Users will and can expect delays and should plan accordingly. Our team with traffic and signals will be performing ongoing monitoring and will be adjusting signal timing and lane closure needs as warranted and needed. Now, getting into some of the specific operation and activities throughout the construction, your slide here, currently today and planned to last until fall of 2025, you'll see utility work. The activities that you will see on site are hydro performing overhead line installation and relocation, new hydro poles installed and the old ones removed. Hydro will be completing underground hydro components such as hydro manholes and ductwork. In addition, other utility companies will be performing work such as Rogers, Bell, TELUS. The picture on the right shows a typical hydro operation that we can expect. Hydro's slogan, stay alert, you can keep our crews safe. This is an important stage that Hydro is implementing currently. The southbound Greenbank right turn lane will be closed, resulting in one straight through right shared lane and two left turn lanes to facilitate new poles on the northwest quadrant of the intersection. This closure is keeping with the minimum lane requirements. This activity under this program is tree removals. It'll include new hydro poles installation and temporary signals. This stage is extremely important as it allows the intersection to be placed on temporary signals, getting them up and out of the way to allow construction crews to commence the construction. Also commencing shortly, our prime contractor GIP will mobilize to site from now until the winter, and they'll completing underground items such as catch basin. They'll be installing storm sewers. We'll also be completing minor water main work, including hydrant relocations. These activities will see lane reductions consistent with the minimum lane reductions, maintaining one through right lane turn lane and one left turn lane in all directions. After the winter shutdown, the next phase of construction will commence. This will be in spring of 2026. It'll include activities such as commencing the new traffic signals. It'll include street lighting, electrical. It'll include concrete work such as curbs, sidewalks. These activities will see lane reductions consistent with the minimum lane reductions, maintaining one through right lane and one left turn lane. Summer of 2026 activities. We'll continue with traffic signal works, street lighting. We'll be completing any leftover medium removals. We'll be continuing with sidewalk and curb construction. We'll be completing retaining walls, and we'll start to commence some asphalt paving. These activities will see lane reductions consistent with the minimum lane reductions, maintaining one through right turn lane and one left turn lane in all directions. Lastly, fall of 2026. The construction activities will be shifting into completion and commissioning with signals testing, street lighting commissioning. You'll see final paving, see landscaping. You'll see those nice new bus shelter installation, new pavement markings and signage. And lastly, removing all construction equipment and opening up and operating a new protected intersection complete with transit priority components. Project communication is important in informing users and interested individuals of progress, impacts, and operations. We will manage a project website that will be updated with project information. The city also will be issuing public service announcements. We'll also be utilizing those big signs called portable variable message signs to notify drivers and users of critical operations ahead. We'll also be implementing methods to receive and address stakeholder input. The website includes methods on contacting our team, and I have included my email address here for those wishing to reach out directly to me. I truly believe these projects are a byproduct of living in a proactive and vibrant city. On behalf of the implementation team and our leadership team who supports us behind the scenes, we truly appreciate everyone's patience and cooperation during this construction. Thank you for your time tonight and your participation, and we'll turn it over to questions and answers.
Thank you, Chris. We will soon begin the Q&A session. In the coming weeks, we will compile all the questions and comments received. This summary will be posted, as we've mentioned several times, on the project webpage. Luc Marino, Program Manager at the city, will read the questions, and Chris will assign a responder from his team. Luc, over to you.
All right, thank you. So I've been monitoring questions, and thanks for providing us with questions. This is great. The first one I have here is, why does it need to happen now versus why there's so many other jobs happening in the city? So why are we creating gridlock? So maybe between Frank and Chris, you want to take that?
I mean, I can take so in response. So thanks, Luke. As I mentioned in my presentation, we, in consultation with area traffic, we consult with them on adjacent projects, ongoing adjacent pressures throughout this area, and that's what forms our traffic control plans and our minimum lane requirements. I mean, our project has these performance standards, minimum lane requirements, derived from consultation and keeping with, what's going on around the city.
Okay, so next question here that relates to trees. So why are you cutting down so many distinct trees, especially along the frontage of a very old cemetery that deserve more respect? So I guess the question, it relates to the plan, Chris, to deal with trees on the project. And I know it's challenging
Okay.
because we're actually extending the width of that intersection, which have some impacts. Here.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Luke. It's a very challenging site. It's a constraint site. It's a high volume intersection. The intersection is essentially built from property line to property line. The area that trees were removed will receive new sidewalks, cycle tracks. The trees were removed to facilitate the Baseline Greenbank Transit Priority Intersection project.
Next question here. Why are we doing this project at all? What are the major improvements in traffic flow expected? So that relates to what are essentially the benefits for that job there, Chris.
Maybe I'll pass that on to, I think that's a purpose. Why are we doing this project? I think that's how I understood your question, Luke.
Yes.
Okay. I can try to answer it. The project is a transit priority project. It includes transit priority lanes, which gives transit a dedicated lane, which helps them manage timing, which helps save on costs. In addition, the intersection upgrades includes a protected intersection implementation, which provides a safe environment for all users.
If I could add to that,
Sure.
The main reason why we're doing it is to improve the transit priority, as the project talks about. It will improve reliability for bus service along Baseline through the Greenbank intersection. As most people know, the intersection at times is very congested. So this will provide transit priority lanes so that buses will not have to wait as they're going through the Greenbank intersection, which will provide reliability of service and will amount to approximately 30 to 150 seconds improvement, shortening the trip for riders as they travel along Baseline Road.
Thanks, guys. So I'll switch more questions now to relate to construction. So one that deals with buses, especially school buses. So I live on the Rockaway Crescent, and I would like to know how the school buses from our kids will work.
Sorry, Luke, can you repeat? So you were asking how is school buses going to navigate?
Someone who lives on the Rockaway Crescent. I would like to know how the school buses from the kids will work.
This project is not restricting movements around Baseline Greenbank. It's still maintaining all movements. The project, as I mentioned, is doing will reduce lane capacity, but at no times are we planning on closing Greenbank Road or closing Baseline Road for left turn or right turn movements. So vehicles will continue to use the roads as they do today. It'll just be under a delay scenario, and there'll be some impacts with that.
Okay, thanks, Chris. With expected lane closures on Baseline traveling east, what specifically will be done to prevent those drivers from turning left onto Morrison in order to get to Lisa Pinecrest intersection?
Left onto what street? Sorry, Luke.
So with expected lane closures on Baseline traveling east,
Okay.
what physically will be done to prevent those drivers from turning left onto Morrison in order to get to the Lisa Pinecrest intersection?
I'm not familiar off the top of my head. That street may have has a left prohibition right now. That's an enforcement. I mean, if the question is that there's currently a no left, I think right now, how are we gonna enforce the no left? That's an enforcement with city police. Our project won't be enforcing left turn at that location.
Yeah, we can double check, verify, and we'll provide a clear answer on that one post meeting for sure. So I've got a few comments here that relates to the traffic control on that have been put up already on Monterey. So the comment, unfortunately, the traffic calming measures do not appear to have reduced speeding along Monterey Drive. And along the same subject, there's some concern about some of those measures that were installed that are tight and preventing cyclists to go around.
Just to say that my office has already received some emails about that, and certainly you should continue as you see through the project. If things aren't implemented in a way that you think makes sense, that's the feedback we need, and so our office is following up with the TTC team about that to look at the implementation. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so those measures are freshly installed. Our plan, as you've seen, actually maybe a little caption about TTC. So that's the first step. So we've heard from the committee at the last meeting, and we're aware of the concerns with cut through. So the city proactively went ahead and installed all those measures to prevent cut through to extent feasible, but primarily to ensure public safety in the community. So this is the first step. As construction will move forward, we will monitor, and we'll surely welcome the community to reach out and provide us some input, how things are going as well as we implement construction. We typically need to see like between 3 to 4 weeks, a bit of a stability when we implement new patterns of construction before things gets kind of called a new normal, before we start to really see what needs to be done more to ensure safety if there's such concerns. Doesn't mean we're going to wait 4 weeks if there is obvious problems before then, but we sure welcome the committee to reach out. As required, like we have a bunch of other toolbox in our back pocket that we can use. I mean, this is not the first project we do of that magnitude. We went ahead right now proactively, but there might be other options for us to implement if there's issues with cut through in the neighborhood. So such as we can look at the further narrowing of roads, median narrowings. There's a lot of things we can do. A bit more to the other end of I call that an extreme, but more like a bit more encompassing the measures like lane restrictions, turn restrictions, more signage, and even road closures. But that's typically looked at quite carefully, because obviously implementing any road closures for addressing cut through also impact the local community trying to get in and out of their house in morning and afternoon. So. But all that said, we're open to hear from the community. We will monitor. We hopefully want to hear from you guys, and as we continue. So again, key message here again is we're not going away. We'll be here for a year and a half. So feel free to reach out. We're going to be in this location for a long time, and we will continue to feed that feedback with the community and work from there. That said, I will continue back with our questions here. What question relates to ground? So have you taken soil and ground water samples under the former gas station at Greenbank and Baseline? So an independent, not government study, or how safe it is to digging through down there. So I think that relates to groundwater or soil conditions, contamination. Chris, what info, or maybe we have to pass it to Parsons? I don't know how we should decide.
Yeah, we can pass that to Mike Keating from our team, from Parsons.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, in terms of groundwater soil testing, we've had WSP is in association with the design team that has gone out and done soil sampling. You probably would have seen that if you're living in the neighborhood there, the drill rigs taking test samples. We'll be monitoring too as we do excavations out there. We are aware of the historic use of some gas stations in the area. We haven't found notable signs of that within the borehole data that we would have done on site, although we are aware and we have things within the contract to manage that if it's found on site. Thank you for the question.
Very good. Next question, Luc.
Okay, there's a comment here about my house is already vibrating as of yesterday's work. So how are you monitoring and adapting for this? So that relates to concerns related to obviously vibrations during construction.
Luke, I'll pass that question to Mike Keating from Parsons.
Yeah, in terms of the vibration, I guess, and noise monitoring, there's vibration monitoring equipment, as Chris mentioned in the contract, related to especially excavation around maybe more sensitive sewer water main that exist underground. That monitoring equipment, I suppose, can keep track of some of the vibration in the adjacent areas, although it should be monitored. Construction will have vibrations when they have your equipments running through there. It's the matter of the levels of that vibration or noise and managing that. So we would like to hear if the vibrations are getting too strong.
Mm-hmm. And in addition, Luke, our team has implemented pre-construction survey. Residents in the area would have received notice for a third-party contractor to investigate, take pictures and document existing conditions, which will then create an existing condition of the area before we start construction.
Very good. Next question.
Okay, so this question relates to parking. Is the city prepared to offer and pay for a street parking pass for residents 24/7 and that of their guests? So what about for people who operate home businesses? We have disabled clients who can't walk far.
Yeah, Luke, I'm just trying to think. This question's relating to Baseline Greenbank. There is no on-street parking along the areas that we're working. Obviously, on side streets, if we're not working on side streets, I'm not. Can you clarify the question? Sorry, Luke.
No, that's a question that we received. So I guess in short,
okay.
If there's for any kind of reasons for the work the city is conducting at Greenbank Baseline, it prevents a business or a resident to access their parking or their driveway. We typically provide what's called an orange on-street parking pass that allows someone to park on the nearby within the block of the home or the property or the business without obviously being ticketed at night when it's obviously in a legal parking space. If there's any special needs or special requirements, that is required during construction, feel free to reach out to Chris. We'll want to know the statistics and see how we can accommodate.
Okay,
So
next
we have
question.
another question here. So how about homeowners to protect themselves from financial costs if there is damage to their property, waterworks, underground works? So how will access the underground cables with private internet be affected and protected? So obviously here there's concern there, guys, with damage to property or cutout of internet service from due to excavation work. How are we addressing that?
Yeah, we're currently working with all the utility companies on this project. They're present, they're aware, they're on site. They're managing their equipment. Part of this project, there is relocation needs of their existing infrastructure to facilitate our construction. So Rogers, Bell, they will be doing what's called a cutover program. Any users will be notified by their utility provider and provided does notice if there's any outages.
There's a question that relates to winter. During the winter construction shutdown, with all lanes of Baseline and Greenbank being available. So first, I guess, I think there were other questions that relates to winter. So are we planning to work in winter? And if yes or no, and are all lanes planned to be available during the winter months?
So currently, our current schedule does not provide winter construction. Obviously, we'll track schedule based on all the work that's happening. What that winter condition will look like. Mike, I'll sorry to put you on the hot spot. We did include that in the contract specifications. I just can't recall off the top of my head what that requirement was.
Yeah, in terms of winter work, the current plan is not to be working through the core winter months. That would be, December into March type range. However, we know winter can come early or often in our city, so hesitant to say they're not going to be working in winter conditions if we start seeing snow in November, let's say. However, it's still the same traffic plan in terms of minimum lane requirements, even if they were to work through winter, but that's not the current intent. Once they go into winter shutdown mode, we'll be opening up as many lanes as we physically can out there. That would be our goal. There'll be some disruption that obviously if we put new hydro poles into a corner of the intersection, we can't reopen a right turn lane if it's a new hydro pole being installed. So that's why we can't give probably the entire lane traffic back over a winter shutdown, but we'll be trying to manage that over the winter shutdown period.
If I'm going back here for a tree, and I've just been reminded that we didn't quite answer the question about trees. So the question relates to will they be replanted? So I know there's trees impacted on the project. There's quite a few. And then the question relates to how many are we putting back? What's the plan there?
Yeah, so look, the current design, as I mentioned, is essentially hardscape from property line to property line. As people can appreciate, the quadrants are extremely constrained. There's existing residential units on two of the quadrants, a commercial complex on the other one, and then a cemetery in the other ones. When we did the design, we tried to optimize as best we can, and also while having regard for mitigating and limiting the property that was required for the project. So the project is only seeing 2 additional trees being planted as part of the project.
Yeah, so essentially to be able to construct infrastructure that is required here, we even obtained property to build the permanent infrastructure. So there's just no property left barely any to provide any landscaping features in the corridor as it is for now.
That's correct. If the design required a landscaping buffer between the hardscape and the property line, we would be expropriating considerable more land, and that would run into impacting residential units and cemetery, and it's something that our team reviewed and did not execute that.
It certainly is a balancing act. Okay, thanks, Chris, for that. Next question here I have is, will traffic be monitored to decide if traffic signal timing needs to be adjusted?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Luke. Currently, the city has a very robust traffic monitoring, signals monitoring program. This intersection currently has a camera. We'll be monitoring traffic flow, volumes, impact. Signals will be adjusted accordingly, and when warranted. In addition, our construction team monitors impacts, duration of cars going through the intersection, and we have ongoing discussions, bi-weekly meetings with our signals partners, to adjust and discuss these things.
There's another question here, Chris. The scope of work does not seem that extensive, so why can this work not be done in a few months, like in one construction season?
The extent of the scope is extensive. It's a challenging project from a traffic management perspective. It's a busy intersection. Our traffic restrictions of maintaining one left and one through right lane at all times provides a challenging build, and the quantity of construction and the amount of construction, November or fall of 2026 is a realistic schedule.
Obviously, if we had the luxury of closing the entire intersection, I guess fair to say it'll be a lot quicker. But we want to ensure, mobility for the community and all the residents and commuters for the whole area. So we're working around with minimal lane closures, keeping traffic, pedestrians, cyclists mobile during this entire project. And that comes to a cost of time. That basically takes a lot more time to facilitate and work around those restrictions. So
exactly,
and what makes this project essentially a challenge on its own due to the restrictions keeping everything flowing while we renew this entire intersection.
Yep. I mean, as I mentioned in my presentation, we performed additional traffic counts in 2025. These counts are reviewed with traffic services. They're plugged into a model, a signals model, which is run. It determines volume and timing, and that's where our minimum lane restrictions come up with. So yeah, it's a challenging project for sure.
In the same order of idea about lanes, there's a question about how will emergency vehicles be impacted by reducing the number of through lanes during construction?
I didn't, sorry, I couldn't grasp, I couldn't hear the question, sorry.
Yeah, I'll repeat that, Chris. It's about how will emergency vehicle be impacted by the reduced number of through lanes?
Emergency vehicles obviously will take priority. We have flag people, flag personnel on site that we would aid and assist emergency vehicles getting through the intersection. We monitor the intersection from a traffic volume perspective. We'll be adjusting signal timing and adjusting our traffic control setup if the impact is to a point of of great concern. Obviously, we're committed to monitoring, we're committed to adjusting, and we're committed at completing this project.
Yeah, that's correct. We do have like this, the concerned personnel on site is fully aware if there's any emergency vehicles coming through to give those priorities. In addition to your project communications, like the emergency services are aware of construction in the area. So if they can, they will avoid the area. Depends on time of day. But yeah, surely emergencies is essentially not prevented from going through, that's for sure.
That's correct. Great question. Thanks, Luke.
Giving the reduction from 2 to 1 turning lanes going from West Baseline to South Greenbank, will the turning light time be extended so that cars do not back up? So that's another question that relates to single timing.
Yeah, it's the same answer. We've sat down with our signals partners. We've evaluated the traffic volume based on 2025 and actually historic volume throughout the last 6 or 7 years. They've run the models. They've come up with a traffic lane arrangement that we went over on the slides. Again, we'll monitor this. We have a camera on site. Traffic services will monitor it and adjust as needed.
There's another good question here, Chris, is considering how much traffic flow there is on Greenbank and Baseline and the lack of alternative routes, why can't the work on this project be accelerated to include weekends and evenings like some other projects in town?
The project will be a 5-day work week. There will be times if we need to accelerate the project that weekend work may occur. There are construction and constraints when working with union contractors. We do need to give people time off. We can't work 7 days a week, 14-hour days. It's not sustainable. But there are times where our project needs to push ahead and we're in a time constraint that weekend work will occur. Nighttime work, it's currently not in our current schedule or plan to work nighttime. This would require a waiver to the bylaw. Councillor Lane Johnson would have to review and approve it. At this point in time, it has not been part of our discussion.
I'll just remind everybody that we have just a minute or two left. And so, Luc, perhaps you can ask a final question.
Yeah, just to close this one. So nighttime work, and we know there's residents nearby that intersection. So, I mean, it's always challenging to try to balance fast tracking versus how much more impact we want to give to provide to the community. So right now there's plans to work Monday to Fridays, like extended days. There will be long days. Expecting some weekend work, most likely, for coordination purpose. Nighttime, really, unless really absolute necessary, not expecting, but there could be some, because if we need to run pipes and excavate to mitigate traffic impact, this may be night work, but we're trying to mitigate that because we recognize there's residents nearby and we don't want to offset that as much as we can. One more question here. Let me just pick one.
That's it.
Yeah, there's plenty to pick from.
I know, but people have things to do. They might have children to put to bed.
Yeah, I have one here. Interesting comment. Oversight of the impacts of this project should not be left to the residents. I guess that's fair. Although, I mean, on the other hand of the scale, like we value residents' input. We're residents are there 24/7. They live, they breathe through it. So we know so much as what we know from planning and with our data that we obtain. And that's that piece of the residents that feeds us the input from the site when there's touch points, concern issues. And that's essentially why we're here this evening. We really want to hear what are the hot touch points, what are issues, and we want to hear that during construction. So we understand, like, as this job goes forward, this will be painful. The next 3-4 weeks will probably not likely the most fun weeks in probably in 2025. But we need to allow this time for things to fall in place, people to find new routes. things will come into a new normal at some point and things will run a lot better. But for us to be able to, if there's any issues, obviously moving forward, for us to understand better, we need that feedback from the community. You guys are traveling, attending the school, attending the shop, the businesses, going in and out. And if there's any safety issues is paramount. So if obviously the number one priority, will react really quick. Anything to do with safety will be right on it. So that's pretty
All right.
up the last question. Where do you see
Luke, just Suzanne, just an update. We will be, I think you mentioned it, we will be doing a summary document and posting it online with our presentation. It'll be a, what we heard type of document, and we'll do our best to try to answer all the questions or themes questions. We'll group a lot of them together. I guess once again, on behalf of my team, the implementation team, we appreciate everybody's patience and we thank you for tonight.
I would also like to thank the counselor and her office for all the great work that they're doing and the support. And of course you, Chris, and to your team as well. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. Have a wonderful evening and thanks again. Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir à tout le monde.